Hey everyone, really excited to be here. My name's James Tommey. I'm the Director of IT at Disco. We're a legal technology company based out of Austin, Texas. And today I'm going to be talking about what I think is a kind of often overlooked piece of the DevOps puzzle. So, an AWS DevOps trainer once told me that DevOps is a method to enable the ability to deliver apps and services at a high velocity. And quite often, it's easy enough as an individual contributor or on a small team working on one project to be able to achieve this, right? But it's often a little bit bigger of a problem when you're thinking about a larger IT organization, maybe standing up an IT environment in a greenfield company. So how do we deliver those services at a high velocity? So let's start with the problem, right? The current state of IT service delivery is that a lot of the time IT projects take a long time. It's mostly because these projects are very large in scope, right? So we're trying to deliver the fully fledged finished product. But if you look at like our cousins in product teams and engineers, they're looking to deliver the minimum viable product, the least amount of effort for the most amount of value. So let's take the example of an MDM deployment as our example here. So this is a traditional approach. You've got to configure the management server. You've got to get devices enrolled. You're then going to be enforcing security policies and baselines. Got to get patch management going. What about zero-touch deployment? Policies and apps assigned to users based on attribute mapping, LDAP, AD integration, reporting, SSO, the list goes on, right? This can take a long time. There are a lot of moving pieces to this kind of deployment, and the change delta is massive, right? So you're taking essentially a state of unmanaged devices and you're trying to put them into this perfect state where everything gets applied all at once. I think that's a recipe for disaster. So how do we do the MVP thing? This is I love this drawing by Henrik Knyberg. He actually worked for Spotify, and this is where he kind of developed this MVP philosophy. So when we're trying to design the solution, right? MVP1, if your goal is a vehicle to get you from A to B, MVP1 is not a wheel. A wheel is not going to get you from A to B, but a skateboard would, right? It's not the fully fledged product. It's not the sports car that you want to get you from A to B as quickly as possible, but it'll get you there. So how do we apply this to our example of an MDM deployment? So let's think about that. For an MDM, let's say that the goal is to enroll devices and then deploy a single high-value app or a policy. So let's do the minimal configuration of the server needed to get us to that state. This kind of deployment it could only take a few weeks, right? It doesn't have to take months, 6 months, and the change delta is so small that you can make these changes and push them to your users. So the benefits, these bite-sized changes delivered to users, right? So the communication is easier. You're only explaining maybe 1 or 2 changes. You're not explaining a whole raft of them. But also because you're delivering those bite-sized changes, there's a lot less to go wrong. The rollback isn't as hefty if you have to go from your perfect deployment and you're only enrolling the device, installing one package, right? The rollback's easy. You're going to shorten and amplify those feedback loops. So you're going to get response back from your end users quickly, and you're going to be able to iterate and respond to that feedback quicker. You're going to be able to consistently deliver new value to your users, and your team morale, most importantly, I think, is going to be higher because your wins and your project completions and your ability to check the box and mark the project as done, they're going to happen a lot more frequently, right? So how do we do this? Where do I start? So you've got to be really crisp with your requirements. You've got to get surgical with them. Like, what do you absolutely need? You've got to define your acceptance criteria. What's going to mean your project is done, right? So what are the 1 or 2 things? You want to think in terms of features. So what features are you going to be delivering? What's the smallest feature that you can deliver with the lowest cost, right? So that cost value analysis of your features. And I think if you combine these, you take this mindset of the MVP, the smallest deliverable that's going to drive value, and combine that with DevOps techniques and mindsets that others have discussed here at MacDevOps, I think you're going to be able to achieve your DevOps goal of delivering apps and services at a high velocity. And I think that is the secret sauce to DevOps. Thanks.